So let's take a look, for example, as we did today, at the Me Too movement. Right? Me Too is rooted in this tragic failure of narrative. We have sex without narrative. We have no story of sexuality, no narrative of sexuality, which equals our sexual experience. Sex negative, sex positive, sex neutral, sex sacred because it creates babies. None of it addresses our sexual experience. So we have sex without distinctions. We have sex without gravitas. There's no narrative of desire, right? There's a kind of shaming, a pathologizing of touch itself. We've lost access, right, to the quality of touch, which is part of the core structure of cosmos, right? Molecules seeking to touch each other, meaning authentic, deep, profound contact. And we've sexualized all of touch. So even a casual hug, right, becomes sexualized, and we've pathologized sexuality because we don't have a sexual narrative. So we live in this world in which, on the one hand, Me Too is doing something very special and very holy, which is saying, wow, touch is so sacred that touch requires radical mutuality, full on. And there's been abuses of that, and there's been overstepping, and there's been boundary violation. And Me Too says proudly and gorgeously, enough. And that's critical, and that's a momentous leap in evolutionary consciousness. But at the same time, Me Too itself has its own shadows. It's shadows which actually begin to view men as a collective. Right? We don't view African Americans as a collective, we call that racism. We don't view Jews as a collective, we call that anti-Semitism. Viewing any group of people as a collective is exactly what liberal American tradition stands against. It's exactly that kind of collectivism which actually built communism in its worst shadows. So to begin to talk about men as predators, really? I mean, whenever I think about that, I think always of that first scene in Tom Hanks' fabulous movie. You know, what was it called again? Saving Private Ryan, right? Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks' fabulous movie in which these young boys, 18 years old, right, roll out of the boats, storming the beaches of Normandy, knowing they're going to be mowed down. But they're actually offering up their lives in this radical nobility for the sake of larger values, right? Men are beautiful, and men are gorgeous, and women are beautiful and gorgeous. There's not bad men and good women. There's not the pure, pristine feminine and the predatory dark masculine. Men and women are both gorgeous human beings, and they both have shadow and light. And we need to come together, right, as expressions of an intimate universe seeking wholeness. We need to move from Me Too to We Too. And we can only move from Me Too to We Too if we're Homo Amor. And if we're together, men and women are both Homo Amor. Whether we're celibate or polyamorous or monogamous, and that's not the question. Sexual harassment is no tolerance for sexual harassment, and no tolerance for false complaints about sexual harassment, which violate the structures of fair process and destroy the lives of innocent men. Or distorted complaints about sexuality, which are exaggerated and pathologized, when really we're talking about normal mistakes that people make in the normal arc of human relationships. And we have no tolerance for people weaponizing sex, right, as a tool, right, to achieve political goals of often the most base kind. And we have no tolerance for abuses of sexuality in the sense of false complaints of sexual abuse. That's all part of Me Too. And no one's actually willing to say that, right? Because the political correctness is men are bad and women are good. That's absurd. And of course, there's a number of very strong and powerful women voices who have spoken against that. Christina Hoff Sommers and Laura Kipnis and Kathy Young and Daphne Patai and Camille Paglia, right? And the list goes on. But those are really important voices. But what they're doing is they're speaking in a political, anthropological, social vein. We're coming from a different door. We're saying we need to open up the door of Homo Amor. We need to realize we're not just men and women. In a certain sense, we're making a transgender move. Right? Underneath man and woman is humanness. And human beings are Homo Amor. Right? We need to actually invoke the new humanity. We're not just Homo sapiens. We're Homo Amor. We're the new human. We're actually the cosmoerotic universe awakened to itself as us, in us, and through us. And we need to actually participate together, moving from me too to we too, in the evolution of intimacy. Because evolution is the evolution of intimacy. Evolution is about creating new structures and new possibilities of intimacy. And this Me Too moment is a crisis moment, but our crisis is a birth. In evolution, every crisis in intimacy is always the birth of a new possibility. So in that sense, Me Too is a gorgeous moment. It's a gorgeous moment because it's setting an appropriate, clear boundary. But it's also a gorgeous moment because in a crisis, things break open. When things break open, right, as a result of the breakdown, there's a breakthrough that's possible. So Me Too is opening a door, but it's got to open a door towards we too, towards deeper structures of intimacy, towards more gorgeous passion, towards deeper mutuality, towards the fullest expression, right, of what man and woman can be today, right, in our world, Homo Amor.